What is going on, guys? Rogue TCG here doing another Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG deck profile. You all voted for it last week, and here I am providing. Here is Force. Sorry, S Force. This deck is a bad one. It is not very good, unfortunately. I wish it was better, although, as an archetype that has three different gimmicks associated with it, it is not very good. Not very good in the slightest. So S Force is an archetype of cards that revolves around this card right here. S Force Rappa Chiyomaru is the best S Force card, period. But you might know S Force Rappa Chiyomaru a little bit better in the meta relevant card S Penis Little Knight. As you can see, it is the same card on the same character on both cards. Very surprising that SP Little Knight came from such a bad archetype. However, in this bad archetype, we also do have reference to IP Masquerena, which is also another good card. So, maybe there are the makings of a good archetype in here. Maybe it's going to eventually just keep getting more and more support, where eventually it's going to be decent. So maybe I might be eating my words about this card, this deck being ass in the future. But right now it is ass. So without going over it too much, I'm just going to briefly go over what the gimmicks of the deck are. So the gimmicks are all the S forces. They can't be just bad straight up. They have to be bad and even worse on top of it. So almost all of them will require some sort of cost, being banishing an S force from our hand to do something. So Chiyomaru allows us to banish an S force from our hand, bounce Chiyomaru from field to hand, and then special summon any S force from our deck. Now, that's a lot just for a special summon from a deck. Like Snake Eye Ash, you have to tribute Ash and another face up card in order to special summon a card from deck. So going, -2 in order to get a card from deck is pretty par for the course. However, that's grabbing Flamberge. This is grabbing an S-Force card. So a very stark difference in quality of card being grabbed. That's definitely for sure. But I don't want to spend this entire video yapping. That's like one of the generic things. Another thing that you might see with some of the cards is column-based mechanics as well as recursion from banishment and from graveyard. Those are like the three different gimmicks this archetype has. How much they really go into each of the things is debatable. However, one thing is for certain: how the S-Forces function. You need to play a lot of S-Force cards, which means you need to play a lot of bad cards. You need to play a lot of bad cards if you want to pop off with the bad cards, which is so unfortunate because this deck needs cards in hands. But I'm already running on 3 minutes before even talking about the deck, so let's go through the deck and talk about the individual cards. First off, we're on triple S-Force Rapid Chiyomaru. Namely, this is a card we can grab off of Idea, the Monarch, the little mini Monarch. However, that locks us from the extra deck, which is how this deck kind of wants to play somewhat. So it's not really that great. Each of your opponent's monsters in the same column as one of your S-Force monsters can only target that monster for attacks. Quick effect: you can banish one S-Force card from your hand, return this card to the hand, and if you do, special summon an S-Force from our deck in defense position except for itself, and that is a hard once per turn. The attack thing is interesting. It pairs pretty well with another one of our S-Force cards, which can kind of prevent our opponent from attacking altogether, which is very funny against certain matchups, like Tenpai specifically, since they only get activated effects and we can't activate effects, but these are static effects. So in theory, this deck kind of hoses Tenpai if they aren't really planning it out. However, in reality, that just ain't how life is. We're on triple copies of this card, S-Force Retroactive, them retroactively trying to fix this archetype with these new support cards, and it just is not working. It is a level 1 Light Warrior. You may start seeing a little bit of a trend in the attributes. If a monster you control be used as link material for an S-Force monster, this card in your hand can also be used as material. Keep in mind of that also. During the main phase, quick effect: you return this card to the hand, and if you do, special summon one level 2 or higher S-Force from our hand. If an S-Force monster you control, we banish a card from our hand to activate its effect. We can banish this card from our graveyard instead. Now, it's nice having like that sort of ice barrier-ish effect on the graveyard effect of this card, but unlike the ice barriers where you can discard cards in order to do really good stuff, Typically, when we're banishing cards that are S forces, it's a pretty middling effect at absolute best. Like, the absolute best is Chiyomaru, like, hands down. But being able to replace some of that hand cost with just banishing this card from the graveyard is useful, as well as this is another S Force that allows us to tag this guy from on field to our hand in order to get any S Force from our hand out of our hand, which is important given that we are running very few S Forces we can actually just straight up normal summon. We're only running 9 of them and we're maxing out all the playable ones. And this is one of them. Also on the link material effect, kind of sucks because there are 2 link monsters that this card can be used to make. There's only 2 S-Force links. There's a link 1, so this card can't be used to make that, at least from hand, because it's an also. And then there's a link 3. Now, the link 3 is actually quite good, but it's a link 3, and it only points upwards. So they made this without considering the fact that they might put another link monster in archetype in the future, which is just really sad because it just really makes it so this archetype is really fighting against itself the entire way through, which is so painful. We're on triple copies of S-Force Edger. This guy loves edging, and this archetype likes it too. It's a level 4 Dark Cybers. Each of your opponent's monsters in the same column of one of your S-Force monsters cannot be used as material for a link summon of a link 3 or higher monster. Very strange restriction, although it can prevent your opponents from actually making a boss monster if they've played in a way where they're kind of playing into our columns. The main reason we are playing this, though, is if this card is normal or special, we can special summon an S-Force from our hand in attack position except for itself. That is a hard once per turn. So this card on normal or special just gets another one out of hand. It frees our hand up a little bit, and that's the main reason we're playing, is because this is the last normal summonable one, and every single one above this is not normal summonable or settable, realistically, because we're not going to be tributing cards. That sucks. We're on triple Gravitino. It is a level 5 Psychic Light. Each of your opponent's monsters in the same column of one of their S-Force monsters is banished when it leaves the field, so it's like a little macrocosmos, but only for on-field effects. This card is one of the better cards in Archetype, also for this other effect. If it's normal or special, we can just add an S-Force card from deck to hand. This one is our only way of realistically searching our spells and traps, or rather our trap singular, which we are playing 2 of, just in order to find it more. But we do need to play 3 copies of this card because we don't want to be special summoning it off of Chiyomaru, because Chiyomaru would rather special summon Platina. We'll get to Platina once we get to her. So Gravitino, we want to get out of our hand, but not out with Chiyomaru. So we need to be seeing it in hand, so we can fetch it out of hand with either Retroactive or Edge Razor. So there's like a whole like fighting thing going on with the S-Forces, where like some of them allow you to get them out, and you have to decide whether you want to be getting out cards to get more cards out, or getting out these cards straight out of the deck. But the Banish effect Floodgate on Gravitino is actually quite interesting, because it can, over time, severely limit the resources your opponent has access to. Although Shifter is just better than this. We're on double copies of S-Force Dog Tag. We're playing it because we got it, not because it's good. It's a level 5 Light Machine. We can make Cyber Dragon Nova in theory with this. During your main phase, your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters in the same column as one of your S-Force monsters. So all the adjacent columns, just like Mech Knights, your opponent cannot activate those monsters during your turn. Now, this card would actually be playable, more playable than it is. It's still kind of playable in Archetype, it's just not good. It'd be more playable if this was just during both players' turns, because S-Force cards suck. They're really fucking bad. They're really bad. So having that effect on an S-Force isn't the end of the world. However, this card is bad, so it just prevents interaction during your turn. If your opponent normal or special summons a monster while you control an S-Force monster, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. And then that is a hard once. It's just a card that special summons itself. It's just another name. It has 2900 defense. We're just playing it because it can special summon itself, and it does have positive synergy with some of our other S-Forces. It's just unfortunate we can't summon it on our turn 0 like we could a Bestial. By banning, like, just if our opponent special summons a card, we can just special summon it from our hand during their first turn. It just doesn't really make too much sense. We're on double copies of S-Force Platina. We're playing multiple copies of these cards because if we see in hand, we want to be able to have the ability to fetch one from deck with Chiyomaru, because we are just able to banish them from our hand for cost for some of our other cards. We're on double Platina. It's level 6 Dark. Each of your opponent's monsters in the same column as an S-Force are dropped by 600 attack. Very minor stat debuff. If this card is normal or special, we can target one of our banished S-Forces, except for Platina, and then we can special summon it. So now that you can see why I mentioned we summon this off of Chiyomaru, since Chiyomaru will banish a card from our hand. Let's say, for example, we banish something like Gravitino. We can then summon our Platina, and then Platina is going to special summon that banished Gravitino, which will then get a search. So it kind of combos somewhat, although it's very janky and held together with duct tape. So not really the best. And then our last S-Force monster is going to be S-Force Lapswell. This one's also legacy support. It's a level 6 Light Fiend. Light Fiend found, Fiendsmith activate. If this card is special summoned, we can target one S-Force monster in our graveyard, except for Lapswell, and then we can special summon it. Then we can banish an S-Force card from our hand to destroy all of your opponent's monsters in the same columns as our S-Force monsters. Now, this is one of the only really good effects of the S-Forces. It's a shame that isn't a quick effect, like Rapid Chiyomaru is. However, the effect to just pop all of our opponent's monsters in the same column is pretty good, because we get to dictate the column since we're constantly bringing the S-Forces out and then returning them to the field, so we can keep altering the positions of them on board, and eventually we are able to go Lapswell in order to clear the board in order to try and go for a kill shot. But even then, this card is like a bad version of Platina, because Platina will get one from banishment. This will only get it from graveyard. So if we're going to be link summoning, Lapswell is the way to go, but if we're doing primarily our S-Force Chiyomaru plays, Platina is the way to go, in my opinion. We're on triple the field spell, S-Force Bridgehead. When this card's activated, we get a Rhoda for an S-Force. When your opponent's monster declares an attack on an S-Force in its same column, we can activate the effect that the monster you control cannot be destroyed by battle. We still take the damage, however, the not being destroyed by battle thing is interesting. It allows it to have a one-turn live, especially if it's something like with Chiyomaru, where only one monster is realistically going to be able to attack it. It's pretty beneficial then that way. However, Chiyomaru is a card that bounces itself back to hand, so it's very unlikely that it's actually going to be on field for that. And then we're on the one terraforming in order to search it, so we're playing 4 copies of it. And then our last S-Force cards are going to be 2 copies of S-Force Chase. This is probably one of the better cards in Archetype. The trap card, we can target face-up cards our opponent controls up to the number of S-Force monsters we control with different names, and then bounce them to hand. And then if an S-Force monster you control would banish a card from our hand to activate its effect, we can banish this card from our graveyard instead. So its resource, it allows us to bypass the resource cost for some of our S-Forces, like Lapswell and Rapid Chiyomaru. However, it also is a pretty damn decent bounce for multiple cards while it's set on our side of the field. It's pretty decent, and we're playing 2, because if we draw it, it's fine, but we also want to have the ability to search it, even if we opened and used it previously in the game. And Gravitino is the only card that is able to search it in the entire archetype. We are on 1 copy of Reinforcement of the Army in order to be able to fetch Chiyomaru or Retroactive. 1 copy of Called by the Grave, because we lose against ourselves, we lose even harder against one hand trap. 1 copy of Pot of Prosperity to try and find some of the very few good cards in the deck. And then we are on a small Bestial engine because, like I mentioned, these are all lights and darks that have effects that can recycle themselves from graveyard or banishment. So we are playing the Bestials in order to supplement that, as well as to get resource accrual when we are banishing our S-Forces, since they are all lights and darks. We are also playing the Branded Regained. For Bestials, since they're a good hand trap in the meta right now, we're on 1 Bestial Magnuma, 1 Druisworm, and 1 Baldrake. Baldrake being the best of which for actually interacting with our opponent. We're on double copies of Fantastical Dragon Phantasmic. Lord knows we need help fixing our hands in this deck, and this is going to help us, and it's searchable off of Magnamut. We're on triple Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, and our last hand trap is triple Infinite Impermanence. In our extra deck, new S-Force card PogChamp. We're on 2 copies of S-Force Night Chaser. It needs a 1 non-link S-Force monster. We're definitely going to be using a non-link, because Lord knows we're not putting a link 3 into a link 1. Each of your opponent's monsters in the same column as one of your S-Force monsters cannot target the monster in its same column for attacks. So as I was mentioning with the Tenpai thing, if we have Night Chaser on field and Chiyomaru on field, our opponents can't target our S forces for attacks, period, which is very funny. Um, During the main phase, quick effect, we can target an S-Force monster we control, shuffle it into deck, and then special summon a banished S-Force monster. So just a way to trade an S-Force out for another, although this card would be a lot better if it allows us to fetch from either hand or banishment, although just from banishment is fine. It is Link 1 after all, but it does need a non-Link S-Force, so maybe the Link 1 should be doing a little bit more, in my opinion. And then, that is just, yeah, that's the end of the card. It's a once per turn. It's pretty good. It isn't exactly what was needed to fix the deck, although it is a nice little buff. Although buffing a piece of garbage isn't really gonna, make it be able to compete. This card though is actually pretty good. 2 copies of S-Force Justify. Justifying this card in the deck isn't actually too difficult. It needs 3 effect monsters, including an S-Force, so no token shenanigans here on making this. We can add special summon monsters to a zone 8 points to. Good thing it only points to our opponent's zones. But that does mean you can't give them a kaiju into a zone it points to, which is interesting. We can target one face-up effect monster opponent controls on quick effect, negate its effects until the end of its turn. Then you can move it to their monster zone this card points to. That's very interesting. Being able to quick effect just negate something like that is very unprecedented. At least in cards that are legal and just fairly generic. This isn't that generic, but it is fairly generic. And because of that, this card is actually one of our best end board pieces if we can actually get to it, because it is just a monster negate. And then once per turn at the start of the damage step, if this card attacks, we can banish all monsters this card points to, which is why it only points to our opponent's cards and it can move stuff to where it points to. Now, is that effect good? Probably not. No, probably not. Is it funny? Yes, it's incredibly funny. But for the rest of the extra deck, that's it for our S forces. We're on 1 Anima, 1 Line of the Light Charmer Lustrous, since we are a light archetype and we need resources for Link plays. Run 1 Dark to Dark Charmer Gloomy for the same reason. Double copies of SP Little Knight, that we just have to play 2, it's thematic for the archetype. 1 copy of Ip Masquerena, it's also thematic for the archetype. 1 BLS Soldier of Chaos. We can use Lubellion or Phantasme in order to make it. We have a very flexible extra deck since all these cards suck and there's no actual real engine in the extra deck other than these Link monsters, these 2 Links. 1 copy of Access the Code Talker in order to try and OTK, as well as Abramax since we are a Link deck. We are a deck with Link capabilities, rather. And then 2 level 6 cards that we can make, because Platina, Lapswell, and then Bestial's Magnuma, Jerusalem, and Baldrake are all level 6s. We're on 1 Wallow, founder of Drudge Dragons. This is like Graveyard Hate that was played during tier format. I just find this interesting. This could realistically be any 6, to be completely honest. As well as 1 Constellar Ptolemy M7, same reason. This card can actually add back cards from our graveyard to our hand, though, like S-Force, not like S-Force Chase, my apologies. Cards like Ash Blossom, Fant, and Bestials can be added back to our hand. Another reason we were playing Regained is because all of our S-Forces suck, so if our opponent actually summons into it, we can actually have threats on board being the Bestials. But that's about it for the deck. I'm going to be completely honest. This deck blows. It does not worth the price tag, but its price tag is pretty much only, like, I want to say it's quite literally, like, just these cards. Like, look at that, $34 now. Cross probably takes some money, not even like that much. But yeah, this deck isn't good. If you want to play it, play it. If you don't want to play it, you don't have to respect it. If you do play against it, it ain't good. Like, it just really ain't. But that's about it for the video. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for my 1 member at the moment. Thank you, Ari. Your support is greatly appreciated. And if you want to become a member and support me out financially in order to bring these videos to you, take a look at the end card at the end of the video. It describes a little bit more in depth about that. But that's about it for the video. Thank you all so much for watching, if you still are, and I'll be seeing you all later. Bye-bye! Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you wanted to talk to more Yu-Gi-Oh! Players like yourself, I would highly recommend checking out our Discord server. Link is going to be in the description, as well as the QR code on screen. We do talk somewhat frequently about Yu-Gi-Oh! And the current meta, so I would really enjoy to see you there. as well as we do recently now have channel memberships available on our YouTube channel, where we have 3 different tiers. We have Super Supporter at $2 a month, where you get loyalty badges, emojis, guaranteed comment responses, a shout out at the end of every video, as well as access to the members only Discord channel, where you get early sneak peeks at future videos. There is the Giga Supporter at $5 a month, where you have early access to all new videos about a day or two before they go up, as well as all the previous offers. And for $15 a month, we do have our final tier, which is going to be Femboy Fanatic. You get a guaranteed customized video every single month, as well as 1 hour of my time. Could be for anything you'd like. You want a duel? Absolutely. You want me to help build the deck? Absolutely. You want to play some Helldivers? Sure. I'll do anything for an hour once a month. But supporting does help me out quite a lot, and it does help me produce all of these videos. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be seeing y'all later. Bye bye.